Kaylee, can you cut these? All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. It's going to be fun. All right, so we...
Comic relief.
All right, so we built this booklet for you. We're not going to go over everything in the talk today, so I really encourage you to read through it all. And then it is like interactive, so there's going to be fill in the blanks and some areas for you to draw things as we're going through this whole presentation, okay? So as we go to the first page, we're going to fill in, my name is, please put your name. Don't put mine, I know who I am. There you go.
Yeah.
I am here because my wife dragged me. No. So you can put whatever reason you want to be here, but I'm going to actually talk about why are we here today? What is the purpose of this talk? So we want to learn about our health, right? We want to have the best function of our body with the least amount of stress, with the most rest that we can get. We want to have the best nutrition for our body. We want to have the best movement. We want to have the least amount of like aging or degeneration. We want to have the most amount of clear thinking, having clear goals or focusing on like how we're going to get to the places we want to get to. We want to have a sound nervous system. We want no interference from our brain to our body. That's why we're here today. Okay? So, you can put your goal too, whatever you want. And then the first fill in the blank is my body is self-healing and self-regulating. It just needs no interference. All right, and then with that, I'm actually going to hand things over to Dr. Darby, who's going to lead us off in this presentation.
So how our body is self-healing and self-regulating, this is a blank later on, but I'll give it to you now, is we have an inborn innate intelligence, okay? And so our body doesn't just magically work. There's intelligence that's kind of guiding it, okay? And we just have to get out of its way. And so our goal today is to kind of give you an overview of how the body works, okay? And kind of the 5 key areas that we all need to have, and then how we can better support that. Because a lot of our chronic health conditions today and lifestyle problems that we deal with are self-inflicted through ignorance and or procrastination or both. Okay? We've ingrained certain habits into our lifestyle that are just not physiologically how our body's supposed to operate. And we're dealing with a lot of consequences as a result as a nation and personally as well too. So we want to get that better, right? So number 1, we're going to talk about rest. Okay? This one is a lot of check boxes. My back to sleep guide is on a couple pages down. And that one, just really read through on your own, and I'm going to kind of give you a bird's eye view of this one, okay? Rest is for kind of health and healing. That's why we need both. Effective sleep and rest gives us the body the ability to heal from the inside out, and it's just in a natural state of health, okay? We are designed for a 24-hour rhythm. When we dysregulate that with blue lights and all kinds of other things, we get some problems, okay? And this is vital for 2 things. Number 1, your brain. Number 2, your body. Okay? We do breakdowns throughout the day. We're very catabolic. We're go. We get cause damage. And our body is focused on doing. Okay? During rest and recovery, our body is focused on healing and restoring for the next day. And then in the brain, it's where we're encoding today's information, what worked, what didn't, for future success. Okay? And so when you're getting good sleep, it's really, I want to get you to focus on the brain benefits, and this is really starting to come out in research and literature, and so I'm sure you guys are all pretty aware of this as well too, okay? But this is still a huge problem. Because 30 million people suffer with insomnia, and 25 million people suffer with sleep apnea, okay? And just think about sleep apnea. Your body can't breathe without assistance. That is a huge deal, okay? That's just pushed under the rug. It's really common. It's really normal, but it's not normal. It's common. And we want to get in front of that, and particularly when we're young, because once we're on a CPAP machine, it's very difficult to get off. And so we want to start good breathing practices now so that we can stay nice and strong. Because once we're on that, it's really, really tricky. It's helpful, but we're kind of dependent on that once we're really on it for a long period of time. But we have to get good oxygen to our brain so we're getting that good recovery. Okay? How we sleep. Two major mechanisms that guide this. Sleep drive, okay, and circadian rhythm. Okay? So sleep drive, this is like sleep hunger, okay? You wake up, it starts to clock. Your body is programmed to go back to bed, okay? And literally creating a hunger. More so than hunger, your body can force you to fall back asleep, okay? You can be hungry and choose not to eat, but you cannot choose to stay awake past a certain point. You can for a while, but eventually your body will force you in, okay? Caffeine disrupts this, okay? And basically what it's doing is it just bumps it down the road. Because you have the sleep drive building, and then caffeine comes, and then it's just like this, and then it surges. So that's the crash, and so that's the caffeine. First hour of the morning is the most sensitive to this. And then there's lots of other drugs that influence these as well too. And there's lots of chemicals in our food, which we'll talk about, that interrupt these. And these are mediated by hormones and neurotransmitters in our body. Okay? So sleep drive is designed by the wake time. Circadian rhythm, it's designed by exposure to sunlight. Okay? And so that's another thing, like with modern day, we have light, which is great, but it kind of disrupts our rhythm. Okay? And we need to be outside more often because exposure to artificial light doesn't give us the same timing benefits. Okay? There's a phenomenon called light anchoring. I'm going to key on that on how everybody can improve. So let's dive to that. It's on the next page. It's kind of the bottom right at page 5. Okay? Sleep light anchoring is exposure to sunlight in the first half of the day. Okay? How our body is guided through circadian rhythm is exposure to a really broad spectrum of light of the sun. Lights are very narrow spectrum of light, and so they have a different photon that's released. Okay? And so when we're outside in the sun, we get lots of different photons, and it stimulates our brain. The most powerful ones are the ones that come up with sunrise to stimulate the waking effect. Okay? So one of my goals is to catch as many sunrises as I can, and that's how you can really set your clock quickly, is watching sunrises and watching sunsets. Okay? Exposure to light through a window pretty much negates this effect. Okay? All windows have built-in filters to limit ultraviolet exposure. That pretty much nullifies all the benefits of the early morning light that our brain needs. It's not really dangerous to be outside in early morning light at all, so try to get that exposure as much as you can, and you can't really get it through a window. Okay, so just a little outdoor time. Okay? Next thing I want to get everybody to do is no phones beside your bed. Okay? Phones beside your bed typically mean you're going to use them before bed, and then phones also have blue light in them. You can turn the blue light off, but it's still pretty stimulatory, and you're really breaking the rhythm of your bedroom. You want your bedroom to be reserved for kind of spouse time or sleep time. That's about it. Okay? You don't want to do work in your bedroom. You don't want to do anything else in there but kind of rest and recovery. Okay? And so we want to get the phones out of there because phones induce stress and they expose us to blue light. Okay? They also have EMF pouring out of them. That's electromagnetic frequencies, that's Wi-Fi, that's cellular data, all that stuff. That's been shown to affect our pineal gland, which throws off our circadian rhythm again. Okay? So try to get that out of the bedroom. Okay? And we want to reduce stress as much as we can. Okay? We're going to talk about that a lot because we want to beat stress, right? But think about sleep. Sleeping is recovery time. Does your body want to sleep if it feels dangerous? No. Right? And so we want to really program a lot of good cool down habits. Our body starts to wind down around 6, 7 o'clock at night. We want to do that naturally. So in our house, lights start to get dim, electronics get less and less and less the longer we go until actual bedtime. Okay? Cool. All right, so we're going to have lots of questions along the way, but we have gobs of content, so just kind of save them. And then there's little tidbits at the end about just asking yourself these questions. Just get to know your body and your brain. Just ask yourself these questions and let yourself think on it a little bit. And so how can I improve my own health and life, okay? So we're going to jump into fuel. So fueling is everything you need to put in our body so it operates and runs, okay? And so really we need nutrients for 3 main reasons. These are the blanks. Resources. We need raw building blocks to keep rebuilding our body, which we break down. We need raw energy to keep operating, okay? And we need connection. So aside from actually calories and resources, food has been a cultural connection point for humans for a long, long time. Okay? The more we deviate from that, the more stress we induce. And the whole positive benefit of food, like the biggest thing is it's that connection time, it's the wind down time. And so the more we can incorporate that, yeah, we can't get it every single time, but the more we can, the better our digestion will be. Okay? And so when we deviate from that, we're going to start to get dysfunction. And so we want to support the main things your body needs, and so that's resources, connection, and fuel. Okay? Because this is a problem. So gastrointestinal symptoms in the U.S., this is a 2018 study, almost 72,000 people surveyed. Okay? And so I'm just going to equate that 72,000 to the population of Denver. That's not the actual population of Denver, but imagine the study size is the whole population of Denver. Okay? And so if that is this study, all of Aurora has symptoms of dysfunction. Okay? And so this is a huge amount. 61% of that 72 had symptoms of dysfunction, and more than one. More than one. And then in that same kind of analogy, all of Castle Rock and Parker would be constipated. This is a huge problem. There's a lot of patients I talk about with poop, okay? Just because it's a huge problem. Like, a lot of people really suffer with regular bowel movements. And again, digestion is a rest and digest function. So when we're in stress, we move away from that and we get dysfunctional, okay? Sleeping and digestion is one of the, like, number one, number two things we hear outside of neck pain, back pain, and headaches that people start to see improvement of once they're in care. Just because once the nervous system is in balance and we're losing pain, we're losing stress, we start to work better, we start to sleep more naturally, we start to digest food better. Okay? So one thing I wanted to key in on today is food sensitivities. Who remembers when this wasn't that big of a deal? So where did this come from? Like, everybody has food sensitivities. We try to have like a meeting, like, what's the special diets that we eat? Well, a lot of this is because we've introduced a lot of toxic crap into our food, okay? And that goes to say, but it's a little bit more than that. And so the Letting Go author story, this is a great book. I recommend you read it. Pretty challenging, pretty thick, so it's not exactly like a weekend read. But it's written by an MD who had all kinds of health issues, okay? He was a really smart guy, diving in his career, helping a lot of people, and he was healthy. But then he started to get one thing, another thing, another thing. His eyesight got bad, and he got asthma, and then he had some pretty serious digestive issues as well too. And then food sensitivity started to pile up. Like, he could eat anything under the sun as a kid, and then as an adult MD, he had a very restricted, narrow diet. And he's just like, I'm doing everything the medical system is telling me what's going on. I'm only getting sicker. And so he wrote a very good book, but to summarize it for the digestive board thing, he was able to decrease all of his food sensitivities, go back to a full diet, have ice cream again every now and then. Even though it's not that great for you, you don't have to have this full-blown negative reaction to it. And so he decreased his food sensitivities through a couple things. Because how we develop food sensitivities is usually we ingest a toxin, or let's go back a little bit to another analogy. Say we're not talking about food anymore, okay? Say we're a zebra, okay, and we're going to the water hole, okay, and all of a sudden we see a lion. Scary, right? So now we know there's danger at the water hole. We have to be careful. All right, makes sense, right? It's kind of basic evolutionary biology. All right, so also we see the lion, but there's this cow hanging out over here. But we're friends with the cow. We like the cow. We're good buddies. We have chats. But all of a sudden, because of association, we now learn danger from cow and lion and watering hole. So now we can have exposure to the cow, which was our friend, and have a stress response. Okay? And this happens with food. I've seen this happen with patients. They have one sensitivity and it turns into multiple, because they'll eat something with their other food sensitivity, or they'll have so much stress around eating that their body's in attack mode when they eat something, and then they develop a sensitivity to it. And so what we want to do to take this home is, whether we have or sensitivity we may or may not, we want to relax while we're eating, okay? If we are inducing stress by eating really fast and just kind of garbling food down, that's very stressful for our body, and we can promote inflammatory reactions, and once a pattern's set, it's hard to break. And so we can break this through just really slowing down, chewing, and eating quality food. Because when we're eating, this is a very quick list I put together just by asking on Google, what are common poisons in food? So just read through this and what are the common kind of breakdowns of it. And this is a short list, okay? If there's a long list of ingredients you can't pronounce it, I start to run away, Okay? So we just want to eat more kind of natural foods. So what can everybody do to get better? That's the problem. Let's get, how can we all get better? Number one, we want to crowd out the bad. Okay? And so a really cool study actually found that if someone ate 10 servings, this is double the recommendation, so 10 servings of fruits and vegetables, or 800 grams of fruits and vegetables, they had a 31% reduction in premature death. That's 8 million people a year in this country. So we've started to do this, and I do it through Vitamixes and salad. Basically, I just throw so much stuff in there and blend it up and then drink it. Like, I get half my fruits and vegetables in my first thing in the morning, and I just try to crowd in as much as I can. Okay? So we want real food because this is packed with so much more than nutrients. There's so many cofactors in there with food that we don't understand, but this benefits our body in a lot of cool ways. So do that as much as you can. And then salted water in the morning. I deal with so many patients with fasciculations and spasms. A lot of people are drinking water depleted or very low in mineral content, and that actually pulls minerals from the body. Predominantly through reverse osmosis or fridge water systems, they actually pull minerals instead of add minerals to our body. And so the first glass of water I drink is salted every morning, and I chug it as fast as I can. It kind of flushes my system. And then after that, I just drink regular water, whatever I have available. But that first kind of gives you my mineral content, sets my tone for the day, and it flushes my system. I recommend starting your day with water if you can. Cool? All right, last really key concept is innate eating. So we talked about innate intelligence. So innate eating is where we are kind of listening to what our body needs. There's changes throughout the year, through seasons, there's changes throughout the month with hormones and cycles. And so we want to listen to our body and what it's asking for. If you're walking through a grocery store and something sounds appealing to you and looks appealing, your body's asking for that. But we have to differentiate that from cravings. Stress induces cravings. Usually cravings are driven by kind of salt, sugar, and fat. Okay? And so if you're driving those things, have questions about it, particularly if you're under stress. But if you're just perusing things, or I feel like this, or this sounds nice to me, listen to those. And then just in general, listen to your body about eating. I am friends with a lot of healthy, smart people that do all kinds of different things for their body diet-wise, and it works for them. I have friends who eat ways that actually contradict science, but based off their lab results, it is by far the best thing they can do. And they've done this through glucose monitoring and lab results and all kinds of stuff. And it's not necessarily the standard that is recommended, like namely carnivore diets or other things like that, but based off their metrics, their body just works better. So listen to your body and just give it a shot, try it, okay? If it doesn't work, figure it out. And sometimes your body's going to change, so don't be surprised if you have to change every now and then. That's fine too, okay? So kind of ask yourself that question tonight, how can I improve my digestion? Now we're going to talk a little bit about movement, all right? Movement is something we think of as like, oh, I can move, I can do this, but really, our body needs movement as much or more than we need food, okay? I was talking to another patient about this. Proprioceptive drive, this is a quote in here, 90% of everything your brain does is directly attributed and derived from motion in your spine. So when we are not moving, our brain doesn't work the way it should. It gets stressed out more easily. We get all kinds of dysfunction, okay? And so, first blank, we are designed to move way more, okay, than we do today, okay? Human beings, we are designed to be one of the most endurance animals in the world. Our hunting style back in the day was to chase an animal until it died of exhaustion, pretty much. How many people can do that today? Not very many. We are designed to move way more than what we're supposed to, okay? This is a very conservative number. There's other numbers that are more, but our activity level is 38% less than our ancestors. I've seen other studies where it's dramatically more, but I want to be nice, so 38% today. So just add a little bit more movement if you can, okay? Movement actually improves mental health better than prescriptions. This has been found over and over again in research studies, but it's so difficult because when we get depressed, it's hard to make the best decisions for ourselves. But we have to use the factors of mind, we're going to talk about that in mental health, to kind of get our body and will our body start to do the right things. But if you move more, your brain will work better, and it'll get less anxious, less stressed. It's going to work better for you. Okay? Dr. Henry Windsor was an MD that despised chiropractors and actually ended up proving them right, and he actually ended up loving chiropractic. It just took a little bit to get there. So one of his favorite quotes is, "The spine stiffens, then we age." And so he did a study where he looked at cadavers. Basically, he looked at dissected bodies that had a cause of death. He looked at their spine, and saying like, well, if chiropractors say that spine causes this problem, if a person with heart disease has a problem, there should be a problem in their spine that went to their heart. Well, no, yeah, that's what the problem was in their spine. And the worse the breakdown in the spine, the worse the downstream organ dysfunction. Okay? And so if they had kidney problems, they had the kidney area, and it worked like 97% of the time. When they had a major organ dysfunction, they went to that area of the spine, it had major breakdown. Okay? And so this is going to tie us into our lesson from sharks. But before I get there, I want to go to the female research study. Is what do females care about in fitness? Often, fitness and diet. What is a goal for them? Lose weight. So this study found that women that pursued strength and mobility and balance, so strength and balance, actually outperformed women pursuing weight loss for life expectancy and quality. So even if the woman was gaining weight as she aged, if she focused on maintaining strength and balance, she had a better quality of life. Okay? We do want to stay within our normal weight, but we do get a little bit as we get older, and that's pretty normal. But we don't want to lose our strength. Okay, that's super vital. Okay. So our lessons from sharks, how do we stay young? Ashley and I did a cool thing with sharks. We got to feed some sharks. And so this guy was giving us all these kind of facts. And sharks, if they don't get hurt, they live incredibly long lifespans. There's actually a Greenland shark. It's been found to be 250 to roughly 600 years old. We can't age them very well because they don't really have bones like we do. So the way you age them is they get a crystal over their eye. I don't know how they do this, but then they do some radioactive reading. But unless they get hurt, they really don't die. And so sharks, in this feeding frenzy, we were giving them fish. And if you do this with a lot of mammals or dogs, it's just going to be like kind of a wild show, everyone diving in. But sharks, they know if they don't get hurt, they're going to live a long time. They're going to have another chance at food. So they actually just one at a time came. Whoever's in the best position to get it, that's who got it. And if they got it, great. If they didn't get it, they didn't really care. If they circled around and then waited for the next opportunity. Because they know if they get hurt, that's their problem. If a shark gets hurt, it will die very quickly. Okay? And so we want to take that approach too, because this happens with humans as well. It's called a metabolic emergency in scientific research. If like a person past 40 has a major injury to their knee or hip, it's called a metabolic emergency because if they lose significant mobility, their aging dramatically increases because they lose motion. And our brain is designed to work off motion, and our body's designed to work off motion, so we have to maintain that as much as we can. Okay? And so with the spine, so there's two studies in here. 30% of 20-year-olds already have disc injuries in their spine. So they've already, like, injuries are going to happen. So we just want to respond appropriately. That's why we love getting people to get checked as early as possible, because the earlier we start care, the more correction we can get. The older we get, the less true correction we can get. And we want to get that started early if we can. All right. Even this MRI study on 10-year-olds, 10% of 10-year-olds already had a disc disorder in their low back in Scotland. Okay, so this starts earlier than most. So that's why we like checking spines. We have lots of people bring in friends and family. Just come in once or twice because they want to get checked, and that's totally fine. Okay? Don't let your friends and family wait as long as you did with the care they need. Okay? So let's do something a little fun. We're going to get Dr. Ashley up here. We're going to do a little investigation on her. We were going to call up one of you guys, but we figured nobody wanted to be under the spotlight. So we're going to do a little posture check. Okay? So this is something you can do at home, you do with friends or family, and you want to check this early because, like I said, the enemies of health are ignorance and procrastination. So if we check this, we can become aware of it, we can start to fix it. Okay? And so we're going to do a posture check. We're going to close our eyes, we're going to march in place. All right? And then we're going to kind of rest. Then we're going to tuck our chin, we're going to look down, then we're going to look up, and then we're going to find the horizon. Okay? And then just get open our eyes, and this is our default posture. I'm going to start at the feet. Toes should be pointing forward, not right or left or up-footed. We want natural alignment in the feet. It should go up. I should see the belly button turn face this way so I can see. I should see the belly button kind of trace the line straight down and trace the line straight up. The thing to notice for her is you see the head tilt, okay? And then you can see the shoulder unleveling. So she actually had a birth injury. She had the cord wrapped around her neck, and it started creating some asymmetry in her muscle development. And when she's really fatigued, we can see it. But under normal circumstances, unless you're looking really close, you can never find it. That's because she's done like 15 plus years of care. Okay? And then also, like, there's some genetics things with their family. A lot of the females deal with some trouble in their upper back. and we've been working on not only adjustments, but some fitness things as well, and she's been seeing some really cool changes recently. Even after 15 years of care, we're still getting more improvement because we're changing a couple things. And so there's lots of things that are possible to change, okay? Then from the side, we're going to do the same thing, and then we're going to stack things up, okay? We're going to go ankle, should be a straight line up to that hip bone, okay? And that should be a straight line up to the shoulder, okay? And so she's pretty good on this front because she's a chiropractor, she's pretty good, okay? So show us a little back, okay? All right, so hyper curve in the back, kind of butt sticking out. This is what heels do as well too, and it's called anterior pelvic tilt. This is put a lot of load in the lumbar spine, and then you see this hunch forward. As the head goes forward, the ear should be over this, and this should be back here where it was before, okay? So this, we're actually relative to our hip now. So when we draw a straight line up here and measure over, that's what we do on your x-rays, okay? And so every inch your head goes forward, you add 20 pounds of force to your spine, okay? That's not force you're stepping on a scale with, that's just physics because you're doing leverage. Just like a person, a shoulder, or weight, if you do this compared to this, it gets heavier, okay? So that's the posture check. Now we all want to do something fun, so everybody stand up. Cool. So this is my 1 minute spine stretch. This is what I try to get people to do all the time. This is called a movement snack, okay? This takes a minute. Who has a minute in their day? Everybody, right? All right. So we're going to start. We're going to bring our ear down to the shoulder, ear down to the shoulder. Now we're going to do the whole body. Try to reach as far down the leg as you can. Whole body. Good. All right. So now we're going to rotate to the left with the neck. Rotate to the right. Otherwise, for you guys, sorry. I'm not a yoga instructor. And then we're doing the whole body. And then the whole body again. All right. So now we're going to look down at the ground with our neck. There's a couple people. If you have a sore back right now, you're not doing this one. I'm looking at a couple people, okay? So, look down at the ground. All right, now look up at the sky. Now, flex the whole spine with your hands. Punch the ground away. Draw the belly button in. And then you're going to leap off the diving board. You're going to extension, look up the ceiling. Get up with the toes. That's good. All right, the low back people, they can look up. They just can't look down. Okay? All right, that's good. Movement drive. How awake do you feel right now? A little bit more than before? That's because motion drives brain function. There we go. All right, so I had to inject a little motion in there. Speaking of motion, one of my patients started a Hot Works gym and she gave me a 3-month membership. It is at Park Meadows. Who wants it? All right, where we at?
Also, first visit free.
Free workout at Hot Works.
It's like the best workout in the world.
It's self-motivated.
Love it.
Dr. Ashley? There you go. She needs to be loud. Alright, we also want to give you away some swag. Who
is a 2XL?
Here's a large. There we go. Sorry.
And then a 2XL.
You need a kid size?
I got an XL.
You got a medium? Medium? There we go.
Thank you.
Alright, and then we got, do that one. Alright, I was trying to get to the small. So there's small.
Medium. Medium.
Alright, here's another small. Woo! Oh, nice. Oh, sorry. Medium. Anyone got a medium? You want to take a medium? That's fine. There we go. Cool. Alright, introduce a little fun. Oh, that's not my book. Where'd my book go?
That's gotta be yours.
Okay. Mine doesn't have a thing in it. It's fine. There, that's fine. Cool. Alright, now injectable fun. Alright, now for some good meat. Alright, so go through the mobility challenge. If you ever want to have fun at family, look up on YouTube mobility challenge to do at home. There's some really good family ones to do. Okay? It's like Twister. Look up mobility challenges to do with family. I did this at a family event. It is hilarious.
What's the point of the mobility?
Do the mobility test in here, just to become self-aware of what's going on with your spine, okay? So factor 4, mental attitude. We are thinking beings, okay? So first 2 blanks, thinking beings. Our ability to think is a double-edged sword. We can do good things, we can do bad things. We got to be careful. We're programmed for bad a lot of the times. There are commercials and all the stuff. Alright, our brains can be, most of the animal kingdom is reflexive by nature, okay, including us. That means X happens, I do this. Y happens, I do this. It's just a reflex, okay? We can be reflective by nature as well too. But still, we're going to defend, like default mode, it's called the default mode network, is reflexive thinking. That's still 95% of the time, okay? And so what is reflexive versus reflective? And so when we're under stress, what do you think is going to be faster system? Do we want to be reflective, or do we want to like just do what has worked in the past? Yeah. And so one of the hardest things we can do is think. The organ that uses the most sugar and the most oxygen in our body is what, do you think? The brain. And so do you think thinking is hard or easy? It's going to be hard, right? And so it takes effort to engage these processes. And people avoid this like the plague. We want to make simple decisions. Menus, we want to be short and simple because we don't want to be, we get decision fatigue. It's a very common thing, decision fatigue. And so, hey, we want to be careful about what decisions we have to make, if they actually matter or not. But then we want to assess our default mode network because we have this innate intelligence that is guiding us, okay? But we've gone through programming, through society and all kinds of things, and it's given us a bunch of bad programs. And that's why we have a lot of bad default decision making. And so we have to actually critically look at our life and our results. And if we're happy with it, great. If we're not happy with it, we need to make some actual critical thinking planning, okay? Because our current life and health is a result of our past thinking. And we are 100% responsible for it. Even if we got garbage programmed into us, we accepted it and we did it. And if we are responsible for it, the good news is we can change it, okay? And so we want to kind of start to look at some of these programs. And so this is a tool that Ashley and I have used, and it's been taught to us, and it's really transformed our lives. And it's just a communication tool to really explain how we think, okay? We have a conscious brain and a subconscious brain. This is a diagram on the left, by the way, or the right, okay? All right, so in our conscious brain, this is where we're kind of thinking. This is where we have ideas.
Darby, can you do the first line?
The first line?
It just.
Oh, yeah, I will. Okay. So this is our ideas, okay? And this is what we're doing all the time just by default because that's kind of what we're doing. And that is in accordance and it agrees with what's in our subconscious because it's what we've always been thinking in the first place. And so our subconscious is where our feelings, habits, and conditionings are. So this is our emotions, this is our habits that we just do unconsciously, and this is our conditioned behaviors, okay? And so all of this is programmed into us, okay, from an early age, okay? And so our senses on top are picking up information from the outside world, okay? And that tends to generate certain thoughts in our brain that kind of aligns with our feelings, habits, and conditions. And then these, the subconscious, actually drives action from our body. So we're a thinking being, okay? So our brain is actually just an organ. There's something in there that's operating, okay? So in science, the life force, if you will, in your brain make the mind. So we're talking about the mind here. And then the mind operates through our body like a tool. Like somebody's motoring around in you, and it's not your body. You're separate from your body. And your body is like your tool to operate in the world, okay? And then that is how you create action, okay? So that's action. And that creates your results, okay? This is your health results. This is the conditions you're living in. This is the circumstances that you're in, okay? And the last one, the environment that you actually are living in now is the result of your past decision making, the house you live in, the car. All of this is based off of your actions. So conditions, circumstances, and environment, okay? And all of these results create the sensory input that you're used to, and this we go in a cycle. This is the reflexive cycle that we're in. So if we want to change something, we have to do more than focus on action. Our society's like, what do I need to do differently? But you're never going to sustain it. So what we actually need to do is we need to start with critical thinking. And so that's where we have the faculties of the brain. This is what separates the humans from everybody else, is we have a higher level thinking center. So we have memory. These are the blanks. We have will. We have perception. We have reason. We have intuition, and we have imagination, okay? And so when we get new ideas and we perceive, it's like, hey, it might be a good idea for me to lose some weight or get more mobile. Okay? I think that could be good. Okay? Then I have to reason out, how am I going to do this? Why am I going to do this? Okay? And this is typically where people can get some traction, but they need to do much more, because if you're trying to change your programming, you have to do a lot. To reprogram your subconscious, you have to do a lot of things. What opens the door to reprogram is emotion and energy of your thought. Okay? And so this is where the other ones come in. Okay? We have to remember a time that this worked for us in the past. And maybe it's not this exact thing. Maybe I need to do a new behavior that's hard. But I did something else hard before in my life, and I can remember that. So I can probably do this hard thing too. Okay? So you have to have memory, and then you have to have the imagination to think of how this is going to benefit me. How is this, what is it going to feel like? What is it going to smell like? What am I going to be touching? You have to make this real in your brain. Our brain is a double-edged sword. It can create stress. It can also create a new reality for yourself. So why I said a double-edged sword is when an animal is in danger, it operates like it's in danger. When it's not in danger, it operates like it's not in danger. With humans, that is not true. We can look at something on our phone or watch something on the TV, and we can induce dramatic stress responses in our body. I've actually greatly started to sensitize what I expose myself to, even like cheesy things like TV shows and like crime and everything, because I could feel my heart starting to pound, and I have enough stress in my life as it is. Like we all do. I don't need to induce artificial stress in your life. So you want to be careful what you're exposing your senses to. There's fun and enjoying all kinds of things, and we just want to be smart with it. Okay? Back to the positive here. So we want to kind of use our intuition on where to start. Life is a project, and there's a lot of things to do. Okay? But your gut kind of knows what would be a good thing to start with. I would start there. Okay, so that's your intuition talking to you. And then you want to start to use reason and perception to start to create the plan. Then you want to use the imagination to start to imagine what that's going to be like. Okay? And then it comes down to the will. If you can come up with 20, 30 benefits of something, that's going to outweigh the cost of you doing it. A lot of people don't start things because it conflicts with their current programming. Say I want to get back in shape, but I really like spending time on the couch watching TV. So how much more does getting in shape benefit me in my core values? And so say I value my career, I value my time with family. How does me moving more benefit me with my family? How does it benefit me with my career? And just list these benefits. As you list these benefits, you will start to engage your will to create new action. Because we really have to do a lot to drive new thoughts into our subconscious, more than people think. Okay? And so the last plank in here is we have to drive them into the subconscious. The subconscious creates your habits. And so these blanks down here are just, I want you to think about stuff that, hey, it would be cool if I could do this. If I did this, this would benefit me with my spouse. This would benefit me at my job. This would benefit me at XYZ. Well, like, what matters to you? And connect your change to what matters. If you connect your change to what matters, then you're more likely to follow through. And don't just think of one thing. Think of like full pages, and then you'll wake up in the morning wanting to do that thing so you can get that result. Make sense? Cool. Everybody in this room, well, almost everybody in this room, has a huge superpower called chiropractic care. My favorite thing about chiropractic care, by far, is how chiropractic can influence your brain, particularly your prefrontal cortex. There is not anything else in the world. Exercise starts to do this. It starts to activate the mechanisms here. But because chiropractic works directly with the spine, it activates your prefrontal cortex like nobody's ever seen before. Okay? And so you have an innate intelligence. That's your kind of the innate intelligence. That's the blank there. You have an innate intelligence driving you to health. Its goal is to have you healthy, and it's driving towards your personal intuitive success. Okay? And chiropractic adjustments break us away from stress. It's like fireworks going off in your brain, and it resets your system so that you can get out of the chronic stress response that you're in. Okay? So a couple read through there, just some blanks to think in, and now I want to talk about how that chiropractic really works. Okay? And so how does chiropractic really work? Well, once upon a time, there was a sperm cell and an egg cell. Okay? And they met and they decided to hang out. Okay? It's like we like each other. So they formed one cell. Alright? I want to congratulate everybody. You actually are a race winner. Okay? You won the first race and the most important race a long time ago. And that sperm cell got to that egg first and said, you win, and you got to be born. Okay? And at the moment of conception, this has literally been seen in real life with the microscope, watching a sperm and egg cell, there is a spark of life. And it is light. It is actually a chemical reaction. It goes boom. And it's literally like an emergence of light. And that is your life force. And it is with you today. That life force turned one cell into your body. Think about that. How amazing is that? From the inside out, like, do you know how to make a heart? Do you know how to make lungs? Do you know how to digest food? No, right? And so that life force is still there. It didn't leave you. Okay? So that one cell turned into a bunch of cells, and that eventually looks like a blackberry or a mulberry, technically. And then that is your rudimentary brain. Okay? And all of this intelligence is sitting there. And it says, we need to get out of here, we need a tail. So we got a tail. That tail is your nodal cord. That turns into your spinal column and your spinal cord. Okay? This is the very first recognizable structure aside the blackberry. And it's eventually, it's your baseline spine and spinal cord. Okay? Day 17 to 16. Okay? And then from there, we start to see all these connections. All these nerve cells. So nerve cells are growing from the brain out into the body. And on the end of these nerve cells, we're getting a heart. We're getting a digestive tract. We're getting lungs. We're getting our arms. We're getting muscles. The intelligence needs a form of communication. It communicates through these nerves, and then there's differentiated cells, and then these buds form, and that turns into tissue. This is literally, everything is connected to that intelligence. It needs the nerve system to connect. So this is obviously a preborn system. So down the road, the brain gets a what? A skull, right? And then the spinal column, or the spinal cord gets a what? I kind of gave it away. Spinal column. And that's a bunch of individual bones. Who wants to be a steel rod, right? Don't want that, right? So we can bend and move and twist, okay? So we have a bunch of individual bones, okay? And they start to protect that spinal cord. What happens if one of those shifts out of place? Does it protect or start to irritate? It starts to irritate, right? And so the weight of a dime on a nerve will cut its ability to communicate by 60%. A dime on a nerve. So think of a dime. If there's that much pressure on a nerve, you lose 60% of its power. So if you have a choice between 100% and 40%, which one do you want? The 100%, right? And so, and how long do you want that? As long as possible, right? Because these subluxations, these shifts in the spine, happen as a result of everyday unavoidable stresses in life. We can't get away from these things. Okay? We do a lot of things to take care of our teeth. Our culture should do a lot of things to take care of our spine as well too. Okay? And so to kind of dive into real simple how this works in our world is we have a brain up here and we have a body down here. If we want to make this really simple, we call this a safety pin. Okay? And so when the pin is open, that's the subluxation. What an adjustment does is it restores the loop so that the brain can give instruction to the body can talk to the brain. It's really, really that simple. Okay? There's a bit more complex version. How are we going for time?
57.
Got 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. So go to the last page. I'm going to walk you through how this works on a big scale, okay? So there's a design, okay? And it maintains this has properties, it has physical laws that maintain its existence, okay? This intelligence essentially drives what's innate intelligence in our bodies, okay? And our body receives that, and then it starts to create thoughts. It creates the mental thought in our brain, all right? And then that's the creation process. And then that gets into a brain cell. Okay, and then if that thought is strong enough, it starts to transform it into an actual impulse. This is a nerve drive. Like there's a thought, like when you're pushing weight, like you can do push-ups, and there comes a certain time when you come to a stop. But usually you can push a little bit more. And so the force of that thought actually has the ability to propel or be stopped. So there is a force there. Okay? And if it's strong enough, it's propelled down the nerve into the body and it gets to a tissue cell. Okay? That tissue cell then receives it, it goes through its thing, it processes it, and then it has an event happen, okay, good or bad, and then the body's like, okay, this worked out good, and then I need to tell the brain what happened so that we can keep making this work. So this is a never-ending loop. So then the tissue cell kind of creates an action that creates a vibration, okay, like all the little molecular cells doing things, and then that creates a drive onto the afferent nerve, which goes up to the brain. And then the brain cell has to what? Perceive it, okay? And then that brain cell has to kind of, what do I think about this? What is the mental aspect? And then I have to interpret it. What does it mean? Okay? And then we get another idea, and then we kind of go through that loop again. And so you guys can all be chiropractors now, but you kind of have it in a nutshell. Okay? Cool. So that is like a million miles an hour talk overview. So we're going to do several more talks throughout the year on deep dives going in. I want to do a vote. We're going to do a talk on each of the pillars: fueling, sleep, mental health, and we're going to talk about chiropractic along the way. So we're just going to do those next three, and then movement. So which one would you guys want to hear next? Just scream it out there. Movement? All right, so we can do movement next. There we go. Cool. Any questions?
How much salt do you put in your water?
Not enough. Like, this was a problem. I had a guy at the time with it. He was like, dude, like, you shouldn't taste this. Like, he was getting, like, blood pressure going. He was like, I'm like, no, you're not drinking salt water.
Yeah.
Like, you should faintly taste salt. Right? And try to get a colorful salt. Okay?
Himalayan?
Yeah, Himalayan's like a good center one, but there's all kinds of fun ones. There's like Celtic salt, like, even with pepper, like, we think pepper's this thing. There's all kinds of variations. So, just go to the store and grab one that looks colorful.
I just got a shakes.
Oh,
Like just like a
a
pinch. Like a
Oh, pinch.
yeah. Like you shouldn't
Like
really.
1 or 2 shakes.
Yeah. Like if it
Keep
tastes
it simple.
if it's overly salty, just back off a little bit. Okay.
So what do you think about hot lemon water in the morning?
Good. Yeah. Anything against water in your system, because you need something in the water. That's the big thing. But there's going to be a little sugar in that, but not too much mineral content. So I just cut the salt. It's easy. James.
What do you think about those lamps that try to emulate the sunlight as opposed to going outside? Do you think they're effective?
To wake you, they're designed to wake you up.
Okay.
They're not designed to replace sunlight exposure. So if I shine a flashlight on your leg when you're awake or when you're asleep, your body will start to wake up, even if it's not hitting your face. So our exposure to light is extremely sensitive. That's why you have to be completely dark at night. If you go to the bathroom at night, you want to very much limit your exposure to light because you're going to really alter your melatonin level with any exposure to light. And so what that's trying to do is expose you to some light and start to trigger a wake up. Because if you're in a blackout room and there's no curtains, our body will intrinsically wake up to try to see the sun. If you ever need a phase shift, so you can, say your teenager's sleeping in or something like that, or you have a trip coming up and I need to get up earlier, you can just make them get up earlier and get them outside. Even if it's very minimally light, they'll start to program that that's their wake up time. Even with very minimal light outside, they'll do that.
Couple things. First, I use my cell phone as my alarm. I'm sure many people do.
Yeah.
But I keep it on a chair that requires me to get up and out and walk.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I try to
If
get
you're, like,
walls.
get it out of the bedroom,
Try to
you
get
want
walls
walls
between you.
out? Okay.
Yeah. Because literally 5G is very potent. More than people realize. 5G actually had a lot of lobbying to push it through so fast because there are some health concerns around it, and it needed to happen for our modern day society for speed of communication, so they just slammed it through and they just lobbied pretty quick. But there's some concerns with it health-wise, and so we want to break them out. There's things that, like, you can ground your bed. You can get pretty advanced with this. You can buy plug-in things and different things like that to actually ground your bed to negate some of this. And then you can just look up like how.
That you can attach to your, like, get a phone case that
Yeah,
actually gets.
there's EMF, but then there is effects. It reduces your signal a
Right.
little bit. But just for habit, like I just have mine in my bathroom. Like it's not terribly far, but it's just outside. The only electronic thing in my bedroom is a really old alarm clock that I don't actually use. It's got a red light on it. And any light you have exposure to at night, if you have to, just make it red. Red is the least stimulatory. Blue light is the worst.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I did have one more.
all right, we'll come back to you, okay?
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations or anything like that for people that wake up before? It's like I'm up before 7.
Yeah, I wake up at 4:20 every day. Yeah. So I'm up and running around, and you just wake up and that's fine. Like you just want to see that sunrise if you can. Like not that you have to see the actual sunrise, but you need, preferably in the first half of the day, you want it 30 minutes of sunlight exposure. If you're up before, great. That's fine.
Okay, you had mentioned earlier on that our brain requires sugar,
It uses the most sugar of our body.
the most sugar of our
Yeah,
body.
yeah.
So how do you feel about diets that exclude sugar?
So the brain can actually run on more than sugar. It can run on sugar and ketones.
Okay.
And you have sugar in your body.
Mhm.
Basically, everything comes into your body and it's turned into sugar or fat. Okay? No matter what it is. If it's protein, it's going to be used as protein in your body or converted into sugar and burned as calories. And so you have 2 days of sugar stored in you at all times. Okay? And 1 pound of fat can carry you for like days. I think 1 pound of fat is like 25 or 3,500 calories, something like that. And most of us have more than 1 pound of fat on. And so the brain, like if we restrict caloric intake, it's gonna pull sugar from our liver, then it's gonna pull sugar from our muscles, and then it's gonna start to convert fat into sugar for our brain. And then once that's gone, then we convert into ketones, and that's like the ketogenic diet. And the brain actually works more efficiently on ketones, but there's some other things that aren't as good for that function. So every now and then you get the keto flu, so you have to break that. So, yeah. So yeah, most people are ingesting way too many carbs. So recommended like carb, like sugar intake. I think most science wants to keep you below 50 grams. 1 can of soda has 42 grams in it. So a can of soda is a meal. People don't think that. It's a meal of calories. And people don't realize that they're drinking a meal. And if they drink a Coke, they think, oh, they don't think about that as calories, so they have a meal. When in reality, you just had 2 meals. Any other question? Pondering, thinking man over here? No? Yeah, so fun fact about metabolic. So our body will adapt to the calories that we're ingesting. Okay? And it'll get better at breaking down the food that you're eating. So it gets more efficient, so it gets more calories out of it. It also gets more efficient at doing what you do, so it expends less calories. So every now and then, I just purposely change my diet so that, because if you just do the same thing, you will gain weight by default. You have to periodically just change things, and that's okay. Back to sugar. Any other questions? No? All right. Honor having you guys. Thanks for your time tonight. Any questions, text, email, totally fine. Like my personal cell phone's on the voicemail, so if you ever get something on the weekend, just give us a call. Give my voicemail, you can text me. It's totally fine.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.